All right, take a look here defensively. Hit on this a little bit earlier. This is what Alabama was averaging on the season offensively compared to what they did yesterday. They were averaging nearly 42 points a game. You held them to 17. Rushing yards there at 179, you gave up 75. Passing yards, you held them about 25 yards below their average. Total yards, you held them 120 yards below their average. Third down, their percentage typically on third down, 45, 46%. You held them at 21%. You then throw in the fact that you had 5 3-and-outs. I think in their last 12 plays, they gained three yards or something in total. They were like 0 of 4 on their last 4 third downs, 0 of 1 on a fourth down. Their average third down was 3rd and 8.5. You kept them in long yardage all day. Daniel, to me, we could talk about the defensive line. Been talked about all year. They're good. Linebackers, I wondered how that would look without Keenan Peely. Look good.
Look great.
But I thought yesterday was the breakout party for the secondary.
It was, and I think when you look at Tim Banks, you look at what he's done with this team. He's been able to get these guys to play selflessly, right? To play as a unit, play as a group, from D-line to linebacker to all of it. And it's amazing. Like I heard a Nick Saban quote a few weeks ago, and it's almost as important to get the wrong people off the bus than it is to get the right people on the bus. You look at this season, you look at the attrition that they had going into the Iowa game, the guys that they brought in, and the culture that they've built on defense. It's incredible. And just one little thing to highlight it with the defensive line, you got James Pierce, who's an All-American, first couple of games of the season, barely even touching the field, and being okay with that for the good of the team to get that depth.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah. Ollie, your thoughts on the secondary, on the defense in general? You're a guy that used to practice against this bunch. To look at the leap they have taken from last, I mean, they were good last year. Yeah. They were top 4 in basically every category last year, but they've gone from good to great.
Yeah, I mean, like you just led into it, it's no surprise. I mean, this defense is incredibly talented, and then just the intensity that they play with game in and game out is something to admire. You know, I noticed it going against them every single day in practice of how good they can be and what all they can accomplish. And I mean, now, just the depth and the quality of depth that they have coming in. I mean, you lose a guy like Peely, it's a huge loss for this team, but then you got Caleb Perry, T-Lander coming in to fill in for that role. And I mean, that just speaks to the volume of we got depth. Everybody says they got depth, they got people they can put in, but we've got guys that could come in and match to the same quality of production that the other guys ahead of them are producing. And I mean, you look at the secondary, it's taken a long time for Tennessee to have a secondary that we can be like, hey, we've got a good secondary over here at Tennessee. It's nice to see that we've got a good secondary over here at Tennessee now. So.
McCoy might be the best NIL portal guy they've gotten. So I don't even think there's a might. He is, in my opinion. Jimmy, your thoughts on the defense, the secondary, wherever you're going to take it.
McCoy has been terrific. I'm not sure Tennessee knew he was going to be this good.
Right.
But he has been outstanding. He's been a lockdown corner. We've heard other players talk about how when you have that, it allows you to do different things on defense.
Which you saw yesterday.
Yes. So Ryan Williams was targeted. He's a very good receiver. Was targeted 19 times. Now, he had 8 catches. Wow. I would bet you about half of them were when McCoy wasn't on him because he went out for a little while. The touchdown catch was not on him.
Right.
And he also, some of those catches, McCoy was right on him.
Yeah.
It was just a really good offensive play. I think he has made a huge difference in the secondary. He's confident. I think he's given the secondary confidence. And let's not overlook what Will Brooks has brought to the table, too. He's playing really well at the safety position.
And I have one thing about McCoy. One of my favorite things, and I don't know if he does this on purpose, but I love that he's also our punt returner. Because I just imagine him being like, hey, coach, my job is to get the offense the football, and I'm going to give it to you and forcing the punt. I don't know if that's happening, but like every time I see him back there, I just imagine like, hey, it's my job to bring in the football.
Well, another good thing about the defense overall, the fact that they can rotate. Some, they may not have a whole lot of elite defensive linemen. They got a whole lot of really good ones. Mm-hmm. And when you can rotate 10 or 12, and keep them fresh like that, I think that makes a difference.
Well, The Athletic this week, David Ubbins spoke to some coaches who remained anonymous, but they got their takes on Tennessee and Alabama, and one of them said that they thought James Pierce was the 3rd best defensive lineman on Tennessee's team, which says something about the defensive line you've got. If James Pierce, who some people are saying is the best player, who's going to be a top 5 draft pick, if he's the 3rd best D lineman you've got, that's pretty good. But the one guy that I think needs to be singled out. We did this a couple of years ago when people were screaming for Tim Banks' head after the South Carolina game. It's like, look at everything else. That's one game. Most teams have one of those games. The fact that you've kept 7 straight foes this year, 8 overall, under 20 points, that's Georgia level defense there. You don't see that. Teams typically, I mean, even Alabama, when you beat them a couple of years ago, Nick Saban gave up 52 points to you. So we pointed out this defense isn't as bad as people thought. The next year, as we said last year, you're top 4 in everything, and we're trying to make that. We put the stats up and everything. Now this year you've hit that elite level. I will just say I hope nobody. I said it a few weeks ago. I hope nobody comes after him for a head coaching gig this year, and I hope he's got a nice big long contract, or at least they hand him one. One interesting thing, Jimmy, that I want to bring up on Banks though, and you'll remember this. Remember how everyone was freaking out because it took so long to find a defensive coordinator when Heupel got here? There were rumors that he wanted to hire somebody and Danny White got involved and White wanted to have a hand in it and White helped to. Well, if so, then let White always have a hand in it. But my point is all that consternation, all that freaking out because, well, you got to hire somebody yesterday, turned out pretty good in the long run.
Absolutely it did. And that's when Kevin Steele was here. And they were even talking about him
Carrying
remaining
over.
as the defense coordinator, and he said no because he had a chance. So then you end up with Banks, who a lot of people are like, who is that?
Co-defensive coordinator. We did that with Shoup. That didn't work.
So whenever you hear a bunch of people, we got to Google that guy. Okay, that means not many people
Yeah.
really know who he is.
Yeah.
But I think he's done a very good job. I think the defense was underrated a year ago, and now we're seeing them play at such a tremendous level right now.
All right, very good. When we come back, the Vols are 6-1, and ESPN has them playoff bound. Should we start to worry about their schedule, though? The teams they've beaten don't look that great. Could that wind up biting them? Let's talk playoff stuff next on the Sports Source.